Today, the president, Jimmy, named Jacob Lew, his White House chief of staff, former chairman of the Office of Management and Budget, to become the Treasury Secretary, to be the nominee. In all likelihood, Jack Lew will be confirmed by the Senate. There are some people that fell off to the side. What first take from you on this nomination?
Well, my first take is why he will be confirmed is because he's a Wall Street insider, and he's going to do exactly what the people who are running the government want him to do, which the people who are running the government are people with the money.
Yeah. Well, yes. I mean, and that is one way of looking at this nomination. Mm-hmm. I'm not even going to be devil's advocate with you because I have some problems with Jack Lew. I actually also like Jack Lew and some of the things that, you know, I think
he's not the worst.
I think he's a reasonable nomination and one that nobody is really shocked by. And I don't think one that's going to ruffle a ton of feathers, but maybe he should. One thing, though, that we who complain about things and complain about this president and complain about Republican presidents forget is that when you have a Secretary of the Treasury, more than likely they will have worked for a bank. More than likely they will have come from Wall Street. They are bankers. If you had somebody, somebody who was your Surgeon General, probably going to be a doctor. So I think that we have to take a look at that once in a while and understand that you're selecting from people who are going to be experienced, friendly with, involved with banks.
Timothy Geithner was not a banker, right?
Well, he ran the New York Federal Reserve.
Right.
So I mean, that is as big a bank as, I mean, they can mint coins, can't they? No, I guess the Treasury can. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that later.
You know, I'm not. I don't have the information about all the past Treasury secretaries, but you're right. It's been usually people from the banking industry, and a lot of people said the difference between the Treasury Department in George Bush's administration and Barack Obama's administration was the difference between the Goldman Sachs 5th and 6th floor.
Right. Yeah. So, and that's true. And what we should say too, and it's important to remember this, is that the banks themselves have changed over time. And the way the banks are governed has changed over time. So a generation of bankers that you're dealing with now is very different than even when H.W. Bush was president.
Very different.
So the abuse of banking, you can say what you want about the rich, you can say what you want about taxes, but the abuse of banking has happened much more recently with the crop of people that we're dealing with right now. It's not exclusive, but it's a different group of people.
The big problem with Jack Lew for me is that he was one of the guys that pushed through all the stuff that screwed up our economy. And then, so after they deregulated the banks, that would be bad enough if he was like, oh, mea culpa, we made a mistake. Right. He doesn't think that.
No, he doesn't. And it's interesting you say mea culpa, but he doesn't think so because he doesn't think all the problems were from deregulation.
No.
How in the world can someone be Treasury Secretary who doesn't see the problems of deregulation? One thing that I do like about Jack Lew is his political history. I like that when he was at Carleton College, that his faculty advisor was Paul Wellstone. I like that when he worked on Capitol Hill, he worked for Tip O'Neill. I like that he worked for Bill Clinton. There is but more about Wellstone and O'Neill, because there is an appreciation. This is hopeful optimism because he's given zero indication that he's not willing to deal with Republicans on entitlements. But he has a history. He has come through a political culture of embracing entitlement.
He has defended Medicaid, I know for a fact that he has done that, and he seems to be what most people would consider an ardent defender of the welfare state. Yeah. Right. I wouldn't consider it. I think anyone willing to cut Medicare or Social Security right now in an effort to balance the budget or to get rid of our debt is misguided, because Social Security is not. So that's. I
mean, it's worse than misguided. Is wrong.
It's wrong.
There is no problem there. The problems in this country will not be fixed by going to Social Security and Medicare. No. They will not be cured by going to entitlements. No. If Jack Lew doesn't know that, considering his history, and if he's willing to abandon that or deal because his president is willing to deal, then he's also the wrong guy for the job. But I do like having a little bit of Paul Wellstone in him. Let's see, though, what some of the senators have said about this. JR, let's first listen to the president introducing Jack Lew to America, people who don't know him.
So I understand that Tim is ready for a break. Obviously, we're sad to see him go, but I cannot think of a better person to continue Tim's work at Treasury than Jack Lew. Now, this is bittersweet not only because Tim's leaving, but also because Jack's been my chief of staff for the last year. He was my budget director before that. I trust his judgment. I value his friendship. I know very few people with greater integrity than the man to my left. And so I don't want to see him go because it's working out really well for me to have him here in the White House. But my loss will be the nation's gain.
So can I just say he talked about his integrity?
Yeah.
Now, I can only judge his actions, okay? So I'll just look at his actions. So he was part of the biggest deregulation in the banking industry, which led directly to the cratering of our economy, but enriching a handful of people enormously.
For which he says had nothing to do with the cratering of that very same economy.
So
he did not have, Jimmy, I just want to challenge you on one. He was not a direct hand. Constant. It's not like he oversaw the deregulation of
banks. But he was the protege to Rob Rubin, right?
Yeah.
So Robert Rubin then deregulates. They change so Citigroup combines with Travelers. They create the biggest financial group in the world and the history ever known.
Yeah.
They do it illegally. Rob Rubin then gets them to change the laws to make that legal, what they did retroactively.
Yeah.
Then he leaves government, and where did Rob Rubin go to work? Citigroup.
Amazing.
He goes to work for that
goddamn
company.
And of course, Lou worked there for 3 years. He worked there for like 2.5 years,
and
2006 to 2009.
But here's the problem I have. So you talk about his integrity.
Yeah.
So he deregulates an industry. He then goes to work for that industry that he's deregulated, right? And he makes a lot of money betting against the stuff that they're selling.
Yeah.
So the company is selling these things. He bets against it. Everybody says, "Look how genius he is." Wait a minute. He set this whole thing up, and then he reaps all the profit. I mean, it's a crony capitalism.
Yeah, but even if that were the case, and I don't know that challenges his integrity. To me, what challenges his integrity is the fact that he is in absolute denial that deregulation caused the financial woes of this country. I mean, that to me is the most egregious part of all of this.